think we need to make a choice right now because we are very close to a recession. And if this isn't handled well, I'm afraid of something worse than a slowdown. A recession is when GDP goes down for 2 quarters in a row. Even if it only goes down a little, these things happen all the time. We have something much more important. There is a breakdown of the money order. The order of the money will be changed. We're having trouble because we can't spend that much money. We have that when we talk about the dollar and taxes. There are big changes happening in our social order and the way that power works. And there are big changes going on in the world. It's a lot like the 1930s right now. I've learned about history, and this keeps happening. That is, if you take taxes or debt, when you look at the facts, you can see that the changes in the orders and systems are very, very upsetting. More power is coming up against current power. The way that is dealt with could lead to something much worse than a slump. In that speech, Ray Dalio warned of a big change in the US dollar's dominance, which has been building for more than 100 years. In this sentence, he talks about the position of the reserve currency being lost. There is a fight going on in the US right now over stablecoin rates. This is a very interesting time in history. They are being fought back against by the big banks. It's possible that the big banks will be the last straw. They were greedy and wanted to control the US dollar more than they thought about how important this time is and how important it is to get this right. Brian Armstrong, CEO of Coinbase, said at the start of the month that the US is missing the forest through the trees on stablecoin returns. It doesn't change loans at all if simple coins are rewarded, but it does change how competitive US dip coins are. Remember that last part. It's very important because looking forward, the yield on stablecoins could be the moment when fiat currency becomes the most important thing in the digital system. I want to tell you about the free Discord in the text below, as well as in the comments below before we go any further with this video. There are over 13,000 people in that free Discord if you guys aren't already there. Guys, you can join for free. Yes, there is a paid side to it. If you also want to join that side has a lot of useful information, but the free side is also very helpful. If you guys still want to go check it out, there's a link in the text below, just like there was in the comments. Now that we know that, let's go back in time a bit. Going back to December 30th, the CPO Chief Policy Officer of Coinbase wrote a post about how China was giving interest on digital yuan to get more people to use it. For those who didn't understand what's at stake in the debate over putting rewards on US-issued stablecoins under the Genius Act, the People's Bank of China's news that they will pay interest on the digital yuan is a wake-up call. Tokenization is the way of the future, and the Genius Act was a smart move by the President and Congress to make sure that US dollar stablecoins released under US law would be the main way to settle transactions in the future. If this problem isn't handled properly in the Senate's discussions on the market structure bill, it could give our competitors around the world a big boost, giving non-US stablecoins and CBDCs a major competitive edge at the worst possible time. Lobbyists for powerful people will always be against change. Not only should negotiators look out for their own interests, but they should also protect the US dollar and the US banking system. Also, I agree, 100%. We've been taking care of it. The stable market for coins isn't going to slow down. A 7A5 is a ruble-pegged steady coin, which is what makes this crazy. It was said that the 2025 stock went up by 89.5 billion on January 10th. This was more than Tether's 49.6 billion and $31.7 billion from USDC. It was bigger than both of them put together. While bans on Russian backers hurt growth, this was put in place in January 2025. It uses the Ethereum and Trondao blockchains to make cross-border transactions quick and easy, which helps Russian banking systems work better. It has grown very quickly since then. It has grown faster than stablecoins that are backed by the US dollar. It's not on any sites, which is strange, but it has grown faster than any USD stablecoin. That's why the issue isn't just with China. It's also Russia and every other country that wants to fight steady coins backed by USD. I already told you that the steady coin market is getting bigger. The amount of transfers is going up by more than 40%. We're almost $9 trillion. Now is the time to do this right. We cannot stand by any longer as these big competitors around the world begin to fight back against the dollar. Supremacy in the digital age of finance, since we already know that the dollar is losing its power in the old system. Also, let's take a quick look at this list. This is the most up-to-date list of the top stablecoin supply changes over the past year broken down by token. Again, you can see that A7 and A5 are way ahead of every single USD-backed stablecoin. Not in the water. Even when added together, they still don't grow as fast as A7, A5. Everyone needs to pay attention to this. This makes the battle for stablecoin growth and stablecoins in general stronger. If you want to know why stablecoins are so important, the answer is that it's not my opinion or anyone else's opinion in crypto. Even back in April 2025, when he was Treasury Secretary, Scott Bissett told us that stablecoins are very important. They are going to quickly pass stablecoin laws to take all of the country's money that they are about to dump. Congress could set up a system where private issuers are encouraged or forced to hold large amounts of Treasury reserves by quickly passing laws like the Stable Act or the Genius Act. This would create a new pool of local demand that could take in the extra supply. With its support for crypto and dollar domination, the Trump administration may see this as a way to keep the Treasury market stable while strengthening the dollar's role around the world. Treasury Secretary Scott Bissett has already made it clear that he wants to use stablecoins for this reason. They are turning stablecoins backed by the US dollar into weapons. This is being done to keep the dollar as the most important currency in the digital age of business. Look it over. We are going to give the stablecoin system a lot of thought. Also, as President Trump has told us to do, we will use steady coins to keep the US dollar as the world's main reserve currency. Thanks. Once more, steady coins are the key to success here. Besides that, we also heard from J.D. Vance. There is more power in the US dollar because of stablecoins. The people in this government don't think that stablecoins pose a threat to the US dollar. In fact, the opposite. Dollar-pegged stablecoins will help the US business and the dollar. Look it over. The people in this government don't think that stablecoins pose a threat to the US dollar. In fact, the opposite. In fact, we see them as making our economic power even stronger. It will be good for the American business and the American dollar to have dollar-pegged stablecoins, especially after Genius is put into place. That's all there is to it. The dollar is being used as a tool once more. Okay, Thomas Macy just put up a post on X. Everyone be careful. As the dollar loses its standing as a reserve currency, so does our power to tax the world by making more money. When reserve status is lost, Americans will have to pay the full inflation tax, which will make it even harder for them to keep spending the same amount of money and pay off their debt. That's because Peter Schiff just recently wrote something saying Trump is wrong. There is no US aid for the rest of the world. The rest of the world helps the US. Because the dollar is a reserve currency, we can spend more than we earn. The status is in danger because of rising debt, tariffs, and armed threats. When it's gone, the economy will fall apart. So yes, this is a big problem. For one thing, the US hasn't been a reserve currency for years, even though we live in an interesting time in history. It's about time for a new reserve currency to make its appearance, and it's also happening at a time when a new system is being built through safe coins, blockchain technology, and AI. All of the sudden, everyone thought the US dollar would never fall. It's something we've heard for years and years and years. But that was before coins were steady, before banks start to fight back against fixed coins. At the same time that our biggest enemies, like Russia and China, are working hard to hurt the US at every turn. Our goal with the switch to this new method is to get rid of the old one. People see this as a very important time when a new powerful force can change the whole order. That being said, if the US doesn't get this right, the US economy and dollar system could fall apart. And this would kill the position of reserve currency for good. I think the US does see this as a very important moment at the same time. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you can get more